Hello everybody. Today I'm working with my Replica 1 Plus, which is a clone of the Apple I computer made in late 70s. So Woz, the original order was about 50 of them, and then a couple hundred more were made. And obviously originals are hard to come by. So Vince Briel designed this replica, uses a hardware 6502 just like the normal original Apple I. So we'll turn it on and it fills the screen. And normal, process, same as another one. The buttons are clear and reset basically, so you can clear your screen and reset the computer. And you end up in what's called Woz Mon, or the Wozniak system monitor. So it's very bare bones. You can input like a memory range, and it'll just output it to screen. And originally people would load programs from cassette, and BASIC would come with it, and you would load BASIC from cassette, and it would end up at this memory location, E000, and so the R will start execution. So you literally just tell the CPU where in the memory stack to start running. This is integer BASIC, doesn't even recognize the new command, but it's got lists, and you can number lines and print whatever, so can't type at the moment. And now you'll notice if you try to backspace on this, slow down for a second, you'll just get underscores. And so I'm going to try to demonstrate that it sort of works as a backspace, but it's not great. So we'll do print backspace T and see if we end up with a syntactically correct line. So we do, but it's clunky. Lowercase support wasn't even here yet. Backspace support is a luxury when you had it in this era, literally. And then you can get back to the monitor either by doing that, or you can just press the reset button. Either way, the backslash tells you that you're back at the Wozniak monitor, and you can check a memory location. So on this one, instead of a cassette interface, I've actually got a PLAB micro SD card, and it's got a start point that you can drop into, and it doesn't look like it mounted it on this one, but that can happen very occasionally. Reset it and give it one more shot. There we go. So this is really neat. It actually gives you a functional command line interface with dir, ls, change directory. PLAB has provided some pretty interesting applications with this, right? So I can do a checksum on an area of memory. There's some basic games, some integer games. There's machine code games. So to demonstrate the hack here that I kind of did to Woz Mon to get this to auto boot, the 6502 reads a location at the end of the memory and starts execution from that location. But if I change that straight to the SD start point, it doesn't initialize the other chips that need to be initialized for the system to work. So I literally took the Apple I manual, and in the back it has what's called a monitor listing, which is basically a disassembled list of the machine code for the system. And so where that blue mark is, after the system's initialized, I made a 3-byte hack, and I'll link to that on AppleFritter. So there's a little switch here that pulls this address line high or low, and right now we're in the default firmware that comes with the Briel. But what we're going to do, I'm going to reset into Woz Mon, and where I put it, it's actually waiting for a key input. So if I flip the switch, it immediately drops into the SDOS. And so this makes it almost like a user-friendly computer for somebody. So if I leave the switch like that, we'll literally turn it off. Somebody who doesn't know these computers well comes, turns it on, and you just tell them press reset. And with any luck, you need to clear it before you reset. Clear your buffer. So clear and then reset. And we can test that one more time just to test the theory. So we'll give it a hard power off and on, clear the buffer, hit reset. Give it a second. Okay. So there's an auto boot. And the one thing about Apple Ones, they're quirky. It's part of kind of the fun with them, really. You can spend forever messing with these things. So to kind of demonstrate something fun too here, if we go into the PLAB tools and we run checksum, and now you can load or run. Load will put it into memory, run will actually put it into memory and then run it. Your start points, just like basic was E000, most user loaded programs will start 280, which is right after the keyboard buffer. So we're gonna run checksum. And the Woz Mon is FF00 to the end of that page. So I'm literally going to flip this back to the normal Woz Mon, and we're going to check the exact same memory range. That's the proper checksum for an unmodified Woz Mon. So if I hit reset, we end up in Woz Mon. Pull it high, directly back into the SDOS. And SDOS has backstay support, which is pretty awesome. Especially if you're, you don't have to count underscores. And the other cool thing is, loading Hangman, that's basically your whole memory on this computer. It takes almost 3 minutes by cassette tape to load that program. And you saw how fast it just loaded off of SD. So it's kind of nice, and just having the reboot button that drops you right back in to your SDOS, so you don't actually have to, launch it. We'll relaunch it manually here, but on a normal firmware, every time you reset, you're back in Woz Mon. So it's almost your user-friendly switch. So that's really the hack that I wanted to demonstrate. I hope more people build these kits. They're really fun. They're really interesting. Takes, I would say, 2 hours for a proficient solderer, maybe a little bit longer if you're more novice. But it's not a hard kit to build. Everything you need to solder is through hole, and PLAB is making another revision, or has made another revision of this card that does not require any modifications to the card or to the Briel for it to work. I will note this is an older revision of the card, so I had to make a couple small changes, mainly just powering pin 1 on the edge connector, which is a mod of the Replica one itself, and then literally just lifting a couple pins on one IC. So it's not heavily modified, but it did have some necessary modifications. So I like the LS has a little bit more terse output, especially because you're waiting for screen writes. As silly as that sounds on something this old, actually kind of a convenience. So a lot of your fun stuff is machine code. Oops. So we'll just run something fun and cute. And I noticed there's this tiny little program here called cat. So we'll run cat, and we'll be grateful for our backspace support. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment or reach out to me on the various forums. I'd love to help you out. Have a good one.